Hey guys, it's Kat. I literally just walked in to the apartment. I just got the last of my stuff from the old place in Orange County. Um, and a friend of mine told me that there is an 80s club happening tonight. It is damn near 11 o'clock at night. And even though everything is telling me, bitch, just go to sleep, I am trying to pump it over to this 80s club, so I'm trying to do my makeup really quickly, and I will tell you that there will be absolutely nothing 80s about my makeup. I'm going to be doing a slight variation of the boring face that I paint on literally every time I do my makeup. So, get over it. Get over it. So this is going to be a get ready with me video. I've actually recorded a video kind of about a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about already, but a lot of stuff has happened, and I feel like I can give you guys more of a well-rounded view of everything. So here we go. All right, so I want to tell you guys about where I'm at. This channel is going to be me having a lot of conversations with myself and also having them with you. And the focus is honestly going to be personal growth and change, because I am definitely somebody who very recently recognized that I have a lot of growing to do, you know? And I love that. I've always been a person who's been trying to improve themselves in one way or another. That is just kind of who I am as a person. I love being able to look at myself from the previous year and say, Kat, you have grown, you've changed, you've become this thing that you weren't before, and it's all for the better. I like to feel like I've actually done something significant and come a long way. You know what I mean? So this channel is largely going to be about my personal life. We're going to talk a little bit about politics and activism, of course, because it's part of my life, but this is going to be about me as a person, you know, because sometimes when I sit in the chair of educator, I forget how much I have to learn and how much I have to grow, and how much education I can get from other people, right? So a lot of you guys by now who follow me closely, who follow me religiously, have already become aware of this. But for those of you guys who are not, and this is going to be a bit of a shock, you guys are going to have to brace yourself. I know some people are going to feel a certain way about this, but I actually feel way more comfortable talking about this now versus when I first recorded this video. So things are, for the most part, pretty copacetic. But I will tell you this, and you guys are going to have to just sort of understand that everything happens for a reason and not give me too much shit. So yeah. So I'm single now. I've been single for quite a while, and I've been very hesitant to talk about it because, like a lot of you guys know, I've been a blogger since I was 15 years old, right? And I've shared a lot of my life on YouTube, right? I've shared an incredible amount of information about myself. I've shared some of my biggest moments in life and some of my absolute lows. When I was in college and I was, you know, in that little month between me receiving my hormones because I was black market hormone, using, and I came on to YouTube in one of my darkest moments and talked about contemplating suicide, because for me what happened, was, that moment between me not having hormones and me having hormones was just so scary. And you guys, some of you guys called up my school and you guys were able to get me help. Like, I've been on here in some of the darkest moments of my life, and a lot of you guys who follow me now, were not around for a lot of that. You weren't around for the darker moments of my life. You weren't around for the harder, scarier, shittier moments of my life where, you know, I've been, you know, showing myself as not this perfect person. You know, in the past couple of years, I've really cultivated this image of myself, this brand of myself that made it so that I put a lot of distance between myself and my followers. And honestly, I like that. I think that's healthier. And I will start out this channel by establishing that we're going to be talking about a lot of things about my life. But if there's one thing I've learned from documenting my life for the past 10 years, it's that I cannot tell you everything. I absolutely cannot. There's going to be stuff on this channel that there's like a big journey I'm currently going through in my life that I will probably talk about at some point, but I'm not going to talk about now. And I'm only saying that because my initial beginnings on YouTube was a lot of me just turning on my camera and talking about stuff whenever it came up. Whenever I went through a thing, I would just talk about it in that moment, and I would have a conversation about it with you guys. And, you know, it didn't matter whether or not it was fresh in my life or my mind. You know, I would definitely make a point of sharing it with you guys, whether I understood it about myself or not. Now, I'm definitely going to be a little bit more careful. I'm still going to be very raw and real with you guys, but I'm going to be a little bit more careful about the amount of information that I share with you guys, because at some point I've come to realize that I do need to keep some things to myself. I don't need to share absolutely everything. I do need to be a little bit more mindful and thoughtful about what I put out there, right? But I will say that this channel is going to be very, very real. And some people are not going to like that, and, you know, my position on that is tough titty Miss Kitty. So yeah, so the title of this video is going to be Alone, because I was in a relationship with my ex for 5 years, right? And it was my first relationship. It was the first true time I've ever loved somebody. And I'm not going to ever really get too deep into all of the reasons why I broke up with my ex. But I will start off this conversation by saying that it was a couple of things. A, it was my decision. Ooh, my phone went off, which reminded me to put my phone on a charger. Where did I put my phone? Where is my phone? Oh, it's over. Is it over here? So, the breakup was my decision. And I decided that because, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest ones that was eating me up inside was that I had lost so much of myself. And some people who have been following me for a very long time, who have observed me through the years, who have seen me change and seen me grow, probably can admit that that's true. Because, you know, who I used to be and who I became in this relationship changed quite a bit, in a very dramatic way. And some of you guys have only ever known me as, you know, Catherine in a relationship. Then there are some of y'all who remember Kitty Cadavers, who was a little bit more messy, who was a little bit more edgy, who was a little bit more, cringy, I would say. Because she was so real, she was so raw, she was sharing things about her life and doing so mostly unapologetically, right? And that's kind of what I want to get back to, because I know that that is, I think, yes, I live in the education sphere. Yes, I live for that sort of thing. And I do believe that is where my talents are most used. But, you know, one of the reasons why I stick on YouTube after over 10 years of doing it is representation. It's so important for people to be able to log on to a website like this and listen to people just talk about their lives and say, you know what, either I've been through that or that may be what's coming for me down the line. You know what I mean? I think it's so important for people to, you know, do that. Um, so, that being said, this channel is not going to be as pretty and as edited as my other channel. It's just not going to. I mean, I'm going to be doing some vlogs and things like that every time I travel and things, but it's not going to be something that's going to cause me stress. It's not going to be something that makes me feel like I can't upload it, because a lot of my issues with starting this channel was that I would make these videos and then I would be so, I would be so hesitant to upload them, because, it's not perfect, it's not cute, it's not this, it's not that. YouTube has changed so much where I used to be able to just make a video and not feel, oh shit, there's fallout, the pressure, the need to sort of, have my channel be a certain way, and now it's definitely very much so, make sure your videos are on point, right? But that's not really what I want this channel to be at all. And so that's not what it's going to be. Ooh, we are just fucking this up and not in a good way. But who knows? It's 80s night. Maybe we can really take it there. So anyway, so yeah, but let me get back to the alone. So I moved to LA and I'm very happy about it. We're going to have a longer conversation at some point about the place that I live in, because I currently live in what is historically the hood. But when I realized after moving here that I moved into a place that, man, let's put it this way. I know the people currently living in my area could probably not afford the rent that I pay. And so I'm low high key a gentrifier. And like, what does that mean, for me as a person of color? I was talking to someone and they said, I don't mind gentrification if the gentrifiers are black, which I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But anywho, that's another conversation. But I live here alone. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment alone. And initially when I moved in, there was a bunch of construction going on downstairs. So there was buzz in the apartment. There was loud Mexican music playing. It felt like I was around people. Then the construction stopped and it just felt so quiet, right? It just felt so quiet. And then the holidays came around, right? And so, I really started to feel really depressed. Now, the holidays for me have historically never been great. I have never had a great, experience with the holidays. They've always been very touchy for me because my family situation is so shitty, which maybe at some point I'll get into, but, I don't really have much of a relationship with my family. And so, when it comes to the holidays, I've always sort of hated them. Over the past 5 years, I have developed, this habit of going over to my ex's family's place, and I started to sort of enjoy the holidays because I now had, these people I was talking to who I imagined I would, at one point in my life call mommy and daddy, and I was feeling really good about, I started to feel good about the holidays because I had these people who were making me feel happy and warm and loved and liked and needed, and whoa, where's Catherine? Why isn't she here? And all those things that I just never felt with my family. And so going from that to living in this 2-bedroom apartment alone, where I'm not talking to anyone, was very, very, very hard. And, it's interesting because I actually forgot that it was the Christmas season until somebody said Merry Christmas to me. And then I realized that I was in the middle of the holiday season. And then of course, once I realized that, I started to get sad. And there's a much larger conversation connected to this, but I've been single and I've been dating. I've been going out and I've been, seeing people here and there. And when I first moved out, when I moved out here, like currently right now I'm seeing, I would say solidly, because I'm seeing a bunch of people, but I would see solidly 3 people. And all of them, I don't want to get into that aspect of the conversation, but a lot of them were just busy whenever I needed, when I was starting to move out here. You know how whenever you're moving, people are always like, oh, congrats on the move. And everyone, kind of vaguely suggests, that they are available if you need any help. But then when the time comes around for help, they're just like not there. That was kind of a constant sort of theme where I'd have these people, who were so available months before, when I was talking about moving to help me, who during my actual move were just completely unavailable, completely and totally unavailable. And you guys have to remember, I don't drive. So I spent a lot of money, an incredible amount of money going to and from Los Angeles, on Ubers, on the train, on this and on that. The moving, I definitely spent almost $2,000 on moving alone. It was not fun. I did not have any fucking help. And that was really, 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 really upsetting. For some people that I'm talking to, it seems a lot like, they're available whenever it's not something that like when it's a moment in time where I really need help, or I need someone to be there, or I need some sort of assistance, they're just not available. But when it's, sexy fun time, they're always available. I'm not going to get too much into my relationships here. I'll get into another video about that, because moving out here, I've been doing a ton of dating. The initial move out here was so depressing and so upsetting that when I finally got a lot of my stuff in, started finally setting stuff up, I was like, I need to start going out on dates. So I started Tinder, and I was going on dates like almost every other day. You guys know that I used to have a dating channel. And, I kind of was, before my last relationship, a bit of a serial dater. And I didn't really have a problem with that. But I definitely got to the point where I recognized that I was dating out of boredom. I was dating because I wanted a thing to do. I was dating not really with the real interest of getting to know these people, learning who these people are, growing and things like that with these people. I was dating because I was bored. I was dating not for reasons I should have been dating, right? And so I definitely didn't necessarily... I had to sort of tell myself to take a break. One of the big catalysts for me taking a break from that was I had a situation where I was talking to this guy who I really, 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 really liked, thought was really, really cool. And, I had totally forgotten that I had booked a date with him. And he had moved around his entire schedule. He had pushed around all of this stuff to make sure that, I showed up, that he could make it for this date. And I had just so casually, decided to go on a date with another person that day. And it was so shitty of me. I felt so bad that I had booked a date with someone without even recognizing that I had a date with someone else. It was just such a upsetting moment for me to face, that I was doing that shitty thing where I wasn't being respectful of the other person's time, right? And that I had to be real and say that, like, there's not, like, I don't need to go on these many dates. It's not a thing that I should anymore be that proud of. Like, listen, I'm just out of a 5-year fucking relationship. I'm a little lonely. Ooh. Oh no. I'm a little lonely. If I'm being real, I'm a little lonely and I'm a little depressed. So I've just been going right for it, and I don't need to. The reality is there's enough people in my life currently who I'm seeing romantically who I really enjoy and I really like and probably should focus on them, and not try to like collect new people to go out with. Right? So anyway, that was a little caveat. But during the holiday season, I just felt so incredibly alone. I didn't have anyone to talk to. And, kind of one of the things that happened was, I had several men, kind of cancel on me or change their plans because they were going to these holiday parties, right? And I didn't get invited to any holiday parties, of course. I had no holiday things I was doing except for being sad in my apartment, right? And so it felt really shitty to sort of like be very excited about going out on a date with these new people only to, be canceled on because, oh, well, I have a holiday party to go to, and know that you have no such holiday party to go to yourself. It was just kind of a not so fun, feeling for me. Because it was just like, much like with the moving thing, everyone, was so available at different times, but then when it came to hanging out with me at a moment where I really needed someone to hang out with, it just, they're just so busy, And so, throughout this whole thing, I've had a lot of conversations with myself. Big one being that I need to learn how to be alone. I need to learn how to sit with myself and be content. I need to learn how to be comfortable not being around other people like that, right? Because I know a part of me going on a kind of dates, a part of me, doing the fucking most as I have done, has largely been that I just have a hard time being alone. I just have a very, very hard time sitting with myself, being quiet, being happy, and enjoying my own personhood. Yes, sometimes I do just go out, but I've gone out and explored things largely on dates. It was the excuse, right? And of course, after moving for 3 days and I've been sitting around and, not sleeping, of course, like I want an excuse to get up and put makeup on, of course. But, I need to be able to be alone. An issue that I've had with myself is, let me put my eyeliner on. We'll come back because I'm trying to make it very quickly, as you can tell. Let's just try to do this again once. I think that's the best I've ever quickly done my eyeliner. You guys can't even really see my makeup in these videos. I need to like set a light up over here so you guys can actually see what I'm doing with makeup. But anyway, so I had a conversation with one of my friends because I was talking to him about all of this stuff, double booking a guy on a date, being depressed on the holidays, all this stuff. And one of the big things he said to me was, honestly, it just kind of sounds like you need to be able to do some activities outside of the house that are not dating, right? And it was so funny that he said that to me because you ever have conversations with yourself and you're giving yourself advice and you never take it, but when someone else says it, you're just like, yeah, that is the best thing ever. Like, I've been saying that to myself forever. I need to go out and get, do some classes and stuff, because really a lot of me going out right now is me wanting to be social. Like I have friends out here for sure. All my friends out here are YouTubers, and they're all LGBT. Love them to death. They're great. I live very close to some of your favorite LGBT YouTubers. But, like, we live very differently. We live very, 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 very differently. And so, their idea of a good time and my idea of a good time often are not the same thing. Which is okay. But I can't just sort of hang out with them all the time, and they're also not available all the time. You know what I mean? So, I need to be able to sort of find my own crew of people, make my own friends and stuff. And I've actually kind of been doing that. I've been getting plugged into a certain community out here, and I've been making a lot of friends through there. It's the very beginning. I just moved here, and so I know that there's going to be quite a bit of time where I'm growing, a friend base and stuff like that, and I'll fall into certain things, and I know all that. But when he told me take classes, get out, do stuff that's social, but doesn't require drinking or doesn't require a date or sex. You can take classes. That's how you can meet people. You can go to events. That's how you can meet people. You can do all these things. You don't need to go on these dates. You're just bored. You need to, you know what I mean? And so for me, I just needed someone to say it. I just needed someone other than me to say it. And so it was just such a good moment, honestly. It was a really good moment for, me to have, where someone was telling me what I already knew, but needed to hear from someone other than me, And so, I'm dealing with a lot of feelings of loneliness. Listen, I'm not to get too much into my last relationship, but I was in a 5-year relationship with the person that I imagined myself, having children with. The person I imagined myself growing old with. The person that I thought was going to be the very last person I would ever date. I was so confident in the idea that this was it. I was so confident and comfortable in, my feelings that, I'm never going to need anyone other than this person. I'm never going to need to ever think about this. I was so comfortable in those thoughts, right? And it just turned out not to go that way. And as hurtful as that has been, it was, again, my decision, and I know it was the right one. As much as it's hard for me to stomach it, as hard as it is for me to admit it and accept it and embrace it, I know that it was a good decision for me. I just know. And so I'm having to kind of deal with the reality of that decision, because one of the last things my ex said to me was, I don't want you to be alone on Christmas. He was crying when he said this. I'm really sad you're being alone on Christmas. And when he said that to me, I was like, I'll be fine in the back of my head. I'll be okay. But the moment it came, it was so painful. It was really hard for me to be alone. I mean, look, there's a reason why he was with me for 5 years. He knows me. Because for me, my feelings of loneliness are so compounded. I'm adopted. I have a family that doesn't really accept me. I've had a very, very abusive experiences with men. I have a lot of experiences of being sidelined because of who I am, right? And so I go through a lot of stuff that's connected with my feelings of abandonment, a lot of stuff that's connected with the sadness that has come with me having to learn how to be a person on my own, right? And really, in my last relationship, I became so codependent because I never had a person who I felt I could trust, right? I never had a person who I felt I could give that piece of myself to. I worked so hard to create this life where the only person I needed was myself. And then I got into a relationship and started needing someone. And so having that new, fresh emptiness is fucking hard. It's so incredibly hard to be in a position now where I just feel so entirely alone. And I've never felt this alone in my life. You know, every time I've done a move, I've always had the help of family or friends. I've always had someone there to help, right? This is the first time in my life that I've ever had to just deal with doing it on my own, you know? And that is just that's been such an incredibly hard thing for me to swallow. It has been so incredibly hard for me to go through just these feelings of being completely, utterly, and totally alone. One of the things I deal with is it is so hard for me to ask for help. Moving on my own, on one hand, was inspiring because I felt sort of great being able to, you know, go and, you know, have this, you know, like there's a lot of first things I did. Like when I first moved here, I didn't have, I've never put utilities in my name, which I think for some people will be sort of funny. You know, like when I was living with my ex, I really felt like I had almost everything figured out because I was paying, you know, so much money to live there. And I thought so much of, you know, living on my own was, you know, making sure that, you know, my, the rent was paid, but there's all these other bills. There's putting shit in your name. Like there's just so much other stuff, right? Stuff that I just had never had to deal with before, you know? I'm going to put this up here so y'all don't see me as I get naked. I never had to deal with putting utilities in my name. Like, that sounds so silly for me to say out loud, but I had never dealt with that, you know what I mean? And so, when I first moved out here, you know, one of the first things that the owner said to me was, make sure you get the gas turned on. And I was very confused as to why she said that, like why that was such an important and specific thing for me to have to do, right? And one of the reasons why she said it was because it takes an ungodly amount of time for them to actually put the gas on. So when I first moved out here, for the first like 12 days, I did not have any gas, which meant that I didn't have warm showers. And so what I had to do was I would get some water in a big bowl, and I would just put the water in a microwave and warm it up. And then I would, you know, then I would, take a sponge and some soap, and I would just clean my body, and that would be how I would do that. I'm going to put you guys up here so you don't see me as I get dressed. And that was just so entirely, like, it was just very humbling, you know, because a lot of, you know, the common themes between a lot of the stuff I'm going through, a lot of things I'm thinking about right now, is just, I really felt, until so recently, that I had it all figured out. I thought I was just, you know, everything was working out for me. The world is just so great. Everything is just lining up. My career is amazing. I'm amazing. What is the worst that could happen? And then I got thrown these curveballs that told me in a very direct way, bitch, you have so much to grow, you know? And it was just so initially upsetting and shocking, and it just has taken me a bit of time to, you know, really understand that I have so much more to grow. And so this phase of my life is very exciting on one hand because you know, I'm now having to sort of do some stuff that, you know, I've never done. This is a time of growth for me. I've never lived alone like this before. I mean, I've lived on my own when I was like living, you know, in college and shit, but, you know, I've never lived truly on my own where if there's a mess in the apartment, there's literally no one to blame but myself. All the other situations I lived in, it was so easy for me to be like, oh my gosh, you know, so-and-so, you know, left a mess. I can't believe they left a mess. I can't believe they did this. You know, I could blame literally everyone but myself. Now it's like, girl, if there's a mess in there, it's yours. 100%, no debates about it, no ifs, ands, or buts. That is your mess. Clean it the fuck up. You know? And so, almost immediately, I'm starting to sort of close a lot of those gaps that I had with, you know, my bad habits. Obviously, it's not changing overnight. Let's not get too excited. But I'm just having to sort of do shit I've never done before. I'm having to sort of challenge myself in ways I haven't had to challenge myself. And so it's a very exciting point in my life. You know, I don't know if I finished this thought or not, but I've always struggled to ask for help. That's definitely something that I want to get on, you know. And right now, I'm sort of going through that process of when is it appropriate to ask for help and when should you just be able to do it on your fucking own, you know. I've always prided myself on being a self-starter. I've always prided myself on just being able to do for myself. But sometimes I need help. Sometimes I need people to be able to help me out, and I need to be more aware of the fact that there are people who love me and there's people who care about me. Because sometimes when I have these feelings of loneliness, it just all gets so fucked up and so intense that I forget that there are so many people out there who care about me, you know, and it's so unfair to those people for me to feel like I'm so entirely alone that I couldn't contact them, that I couldn't reach out to them, you know. And so I'm just going through a lot of those sort of things. Those are very kind of standard things I think everyone goes through, but it's just very specifically hard for me because there's so many layers of feelings of abandonment, feelings of rejection that I've gone throughout my entire fucking life, that I have to sort of navigate around and be aware of, and you know, that is kind of what it is. So yeah, other than that, one of the big issues I've had recently has been I have not been working. I've been taking a hiatus, and I have actually really, really enjoyed it. It's been very good, I think, for my health. I'm glad that I went through my little rocky December vote moment because, frankly, it was a rough one. But towards the end of this year, I already feel so much better, and I am excited to get back to work. You know, one of my issues with all my boy shit was just I literally just had so much free time, so I was just doing the absolute most, and I should have spent some of that time, you know, working and actually getting stuff done. And now I'm ready to jump back in. I had a very weird New Year's Eve, and that's a story that I probably will not tell you ever. But it was a good one at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, I'm happy that it happened. I started the year out really good. I think 2018 is going to be one of the most important years of my life because it's going to be the year where I finally start to really have, you know, conversations with myself and really actually work on me, as opposed to work on, because when you're in a relationship, it's so hard for you to think about just you. You know, you're not living just for yourself, you're also living for your partner. What is your partner's, you know, family thinking? What is your, you know, what are your friends thinking about you and your partner? Like, so much of your life just becomes about anything but you. At least that's how it was for me. And I just really don't, I need to get, like, for me, one of the absolute biggest questions I started to have for myself was, you know, who am I when the lights are off? You know, who am I when the lights are off and, you know, no one's watching and no one's looking? Who am I? You know? And so, "2018 is going to be all about answering that question. It's going to be all about me truly figuring out and finding out who the fuck I am when the lights are off." Right? So, I think I'm ready to go. I'm ridiculous. It is too late. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm about to go out. We'll see how this goes. Talk to you guys later. Bye.